could, or you can wait till next time. I mean, it's kind of the same problem.
We did all that work on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still going to hear it.
Testing, testing. There we go.
Almost 6 years for this.
Okay. Good evening, and thank you for coming to the Planning Commission hearing. Can we let the record reflect that all 5 commissioners are present? And I'd like to start the meeting tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you'd like to join me. Okay, thank you. I have a small change to make to our agenda item tonight regarding an item that was a Planning Commission reports, item 10. If there's anyone here to discuss or listen to that, there was a discrepancy between the electronic version and the written version of the agenda, which just is a clerical issue, but it means that we won't be discussing that project tonight. So if anybody is interested in that, they have an opportunity to address the commissioners during the oral communications part of this, but we won't be hearing the report until it can be properly notified in the agenda, and we will hear it at the next available opportunity. Okay, so with that, I'm going to move to oral communications, and we'll give a few minutes if there are anybody that wants to submit a paper for that.
Yes, okay, yeah. First up, sure. First we have Donna, you can go ahead, if that's okay. Okay.
Just as for clarity, the oral communications, any member of the public can address the commission. They have 3 minutes to do so. It should be on items that are not on the agenda tonight. And because we won't be discussing item 10, that is not on our agenda tonight, so you are able to discuss that with us. Okay, go ahead.
Are you there? Oh, now you are. Clofudi. To especially thank and recognize these two for all the hard work that they did, obviously developing this report. And I've been here before talking about affordable housing and RENA, and I am very happy to say that they made it explicitly, plainly clear that this is not just about the city of Encinitas. The major problem is doing our fair share of the regional allocation. And I would like to echo the encouragement of Allison Blakewell, who in a letter said we need to get on board with doing whatever we can to make sure that the RENA allocation next time around is more in tune with what we are and what we have and what needs to be done. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next I have Donna Westbrook.
Donna Westbrook, Encinitas. I have a question on that report that's not going to be tonight, but will be what, next week? How did it come about? Because it wasn't part of the number of people who were on the committee, and then suddenly it became part of the planning commission. So who put it in? Let's say there's got to be something in writing someplace.
Just to provide clarification, you're allowed to address the commission, but we're not allowed to discuss or answer your questions in that way. So we can hear your concerns, but it won't be until we're actually discussing that project that those answers would come back to you.
Okay, will there be something in writing? Because I was doing some looking over of what was there, and I didn't see how it came about. So maybe you could add that to what it's going to be next week, as far as how it came about. You know,
Yeah, and I'm happy to speak with you after the hearing if you'd like, Donna, and I can explain, and then perhaps maybe we can incorporate it when it does come forward. Yeah. And I would assume that's coming on the first February Planning Commission meeting, which I believe is February 6th. Is that correct? Just to be clear, not next week. but
okay.
February 6th.
And then I guess I'd have to say what I saw was it brought in Carlsbad, and it brought in Carlsbad, two of their stations. Plus, I guess they're going to build, or someone's going to build, and that it had a lot of things as far as RFPs. And I guess what the concern was, at this point, are we working with NCTD? Or are we now, and then it also had Sandag, which is another thing, because it's now part of Sandag, apparently, that's pushing this thing, or they're pushing their 2025. So maybe it could be more explicit in how that came about, because it didn't really explain it. There were many things that needed to be explained in there, let's put it that way. And if you could probably put that in writing too, so we can find out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Are there any other speakers?
I don't have any other speaker slips. Did either one of you? No? Okay. Beth. Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll see you on the 6th. Okay, with that, I'm going to move on to item 5, changes to the agenda, other than something that's already been discussed. Is there any other changes? Seeing none, we will move on to the consent calendar. The consent calendar is items that are considered routine and non-controversial. They are acted upon in one motion. And tonight, there is only one item on the consent calendar, and it is to approve the minutes from the November 21st Planning Commission hearing. Can I get
Move to approve?
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I'll call the vote. Okay, that passes 5-0. We can move on. Okay, our regular agenda items tonight include one item, item 8A. The project is the Craft Coast Tacos, case number multi-006-850-2024. And Christina, are there any disclosures on this project from the commissioners?
Yes, I have a disclosure. I was served as being within the 500-foot radius as well. I have been by the location. It's kind of hard not to, since it's only within blocks of my home. I don't think that will have any effect over my decision.
So it's your personal residence that you own is within 500 feet?
Correct.
So thank you for disclosing that. So you are legally prohibited from participating in consideration of this item. So thank you for disclosing that. Now you will need to leave the room, and you can come back once this item is resolved. I'm not going to hold you to that. There's just going to be commissioner comments at the end. You can go home and watch from home, or you can certainly stick around for the meeting. Your choice.
All right. Thank you. I will disclose I've walked by the project site very often, but as recently as last Monday. Okay. Same. Okay. Thank you.
Same, and I think I've eaten at almost every establishment in that area as well.
Okay. Okay. With that,
I can disclose I've been past it numerous times.
yes. Thank you. Okay, if I could ask the staff to provide a report. Senior Planner Christina Bustamante.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Christina Bustamante. I will be presenting this project tonight for Craft Coast Beer and Tacos. All right, make sure I'm presenting to you guys here. All right, the property is located north of the northwest corner of South Coast Highway 101 and West D Street. South Coast Highway 101 provides the pedestrian access to the project site. Surrounding the existing business to the north is Modern Times Far West Lounge, a brewery. To the east are existing commercial uses such as Paloma Theater and a restaurant. And to the south is Gelato 101, an existing ice cream shop. To the west are existing commercial uses such as offices. The nearest residences are approximately 400 feet away to the west and approximately 500 feet away to the east. The proposed project includes the following scope and permit types: a design review permit to construct the exterior building modifications and site improvements, including replacing the existing drive-through area with the addition of a 1,490 square foot outdoor patio dining area and the placement of a temporary construction trailer at the project site. A minor use permit to authorize a Type 23 ABC license for a small beer manufacturer brew pub, which typically is a very small brewery with a restaurant where the beer is sold in draft from exclusively its own premises. This operation often sells other suppliers' bottled beer, including other handcrafted or microbrew beers, as well as wine, to patrons for consumption on its premises. However, this location will not include on-site brewing. This project also includes a boundary adjustment to adjust the southerly property line 4 feet to the north and a coastal development permit because it's located within the coastal zone. Ooh, I'm missing a slide, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna go ahead and say the information that was supposed to be on that slide. It's not a major image, so sorry about that. You'll stare at this one for a little longer. The project is within the downtown Encinitas specific plan with the zoning designation downtown commercial mixed use. A restaurant with on-site sale of alcohol and outdoor dining is permissible with an approved minor use permit. The Planning Commission is being asked to consider the proposed alcohol service area and the authorization of a Type 23 ABC license. The Type 23 ABC license allows for a very small brewery with a restaurant. The purpose of the minor use permit is to review certain land uses or proposed projects which may involve special site or design requirements, operating characteristics, or which may have potential for adverse effects on the surrounding area and impose special conditions of approval as necessary. The applicant has provided detailed information about the operational characteristics of the restaurant and patio in order to analyze the potential impacts of the project, and conditions of approval have been added to the permit as appropriate. The hours of operation are from 11 a.m. to midnight daily. However, the alcohol service to the outdoor dining area would conclude at 10 p.m., and the background ambient speakers would be turned off at this time. No live entertainment is proposed. If live entertainment and/or brewing is proposed on site in the future, a modification to the use permit would be required. There are several restaurants within a 5-foot radius of the proposed project that have an ABC license and are featured in this table. And so looking at this map here, this is just a Google map with some of the restaurants that are nearby. And so the little red dots there are the restaurants with the orange dots being, I don't know why there's a different color on Google Maps, but that's what's showing here on this map. Alrighty, and so this one here is the boundary adjustment. The project scope includes a request for boundary line adjustment to adjust the southern lot line, which is shown here in yellow. The boundary adjustment will move the existing southern lot line 4 feet to the north, and that's going to be the blue line that you see on this particular image. The resulting lots will comply with the required DCM1 zone for net lot area, lot width, lot depth, setbacks, and lot coverage. And just to kind of come back to this a little bit, now that I've got a handy-dandy pointer, this is where, again, the yellow line is where the existing lot line is. It cuts through a portion of that Gelato 101 building. So moving it north is a cleanup item. It will then just bring it tighter so that it's very clearly no longer intersecting a building, and it will be very clearly on the Craft Coast Tacos property. The proposed project requires approval of a design review permit with findings of consistency with the design recommendations of the Downtown Encinitas specific plan. A pedestrian scale is achieved through the design by including features that define the first story. These include exterior modifications to the first floor of the restaurant, the patio cover, and the decorative barriers. The proposed patio addition would respect the scale of the surrounding neighborhood and pedestrian scale that includes visual elements at a pedestrian level. The height of the structure would be comparable to many other structures in the larger vicinity. The building materials include a variety of natural elements such as wood, siding, steel, glass, and metal with a patina finish. The project has been determined to be exempt from the environmental review pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act Guidelines Section 15301 E, Class 1 for existing facilities. The proposed project, as conditioned, is consistent with the general plan, local coastal program, Downtown Encinitas specific plan, and applicable sections of the Encinitas Municipal Code. The findings can be made to support the approval of the project, and staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the design review, minor use permit, boundary adjustment, and coastal development permit based on the findings and conditions contained in the proposed resolution of approval. This concludes my presentation. Thank you. Staff are here, and as well as the applicant team. If you'd like to ask questions of us, we are available. Thank you.
I have a question, and it may be a little dense. Is a property line adjustment a discretionary matter, or is that a by right matter?
It's something that they could have done without coming to Planning Commission.
Okay. And this is just to clean up a non-conforming condition. This applicant doesn't own Gelato 101. Are they different owners?
The owner is actually the same, from what I understand, from this property down to Raul's. And so the property owner, though, is different than the business owner.
I see. Okay, makes sense. Could you explain the Type 23 ABC license is to brew beer, but then this business will not brew beer? What prevents this from needing a 41 license?
Yeah, so the license types, there are different ones according to ABC. So they could have done a Type 41 license, and that would have been for beer and wine at an eating establishment, and that would have been fine. They've chosen to do a Type 23, which is very similar, except that they are doing more of a micro brewery, like a brew pub is what ABC calls it. So they're very similar uses in that they're eating establishments that serve alcohol, but this is just a small distinguishing factor or characteristic, I should say.
Okay.
Does that
I
help?
know you didn't write the ordinance, but is there a quantity of beer that you can't? I mean, why?
Yeah,
I'm trying to understand why you wouldn't just apply for 41, or when you say the 23 is a small amount, does it mean that you can only sell so many bottles or pour so many drinks?
I would need to defer to the applicant on that choice. I have some guesses, but I don't want to put words in their mouth.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Chris?
Just a follow-up to that. The document said that Modern Times is a Type 1.
Yes.
What's a Type 1? I don't think we've
Yes.
seen that before.
Yes, I'm glad you asked. So it's a brew manufacturer, which is kind of an interesting one. I have a slide that has the exact text for that, but essentially what they're doing, or rather what that license type allows for, is to be able to produce a certain amount of beer per year and to be able to consume that on site if they'd like.
Okay, does that also allow for the selling of their alcohol outside of the restaurant, the Type 1?
That I would need to look for in particular on the type of license from ABC to be sure, because I do not know that.
Because without that, it sounds pretty similar to the Type 23.
Yes,
I don't
you're
know what the
correct.
distinguishment would be between the 23 and the 1.
Yeah.
The main difference is the amount of beer that you're allowed to manufacture. So it's 60,000 barrels per year. So 60,000 barrels of beer is a lot of beer.
Okay.
For a Type 1.
If it's more than that, it's a type 1. If it's less than that, it could be a type 23.
Okay. And the type 41 and the type 23, did they both have the 51% of revenue being from food?
That part, I don't know either. I'd have to go back to the ABC regulations to see if it has that distinguishing factor.
Okay, because that's what the type 41 has, I believe. It's 51. I'd be curious to know that.
Mm-hmm.
If I can just ask Christina, do we have our own local condition that has that 50% requirement for food service? Is that the question
Yes.
you're asking?
I think we
believe-
might. I would need to look at the conditions of
so we'll
approval to
check
be
that.
sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob, do you have any questions?
Yes, just go.
And I had one more.
Oh, sorry.
I have a quick one.
Sorry.
I'm just wondering, are there landscaping requirements at all? I don't see any landscaping at all.
Yes, I'm glad you asked. So I have a slide for that. Give me just a moment. Here we are. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. The coloring that you see on the screen is a little different than what I see, but I'll explain. So the area here has been developed for an amount of time, a long time. The records that I could find from the commercial business record as well as the city records here and permits we've issued, the site has been relatively the same for a long time, and it's had no landscaping on it within this boundaries of this parcel. The particular downtown specific plan requires 5% of landscaping. Since this one's not a brand new demo and rebuild, they are not being required to come up to 5%. They are falling within the category of non-conforming uses or non-conforming design. And so for this one, yes, they are continuing that nonconformity, but they're moving the scale ever so slightly by providing some planters, which you'll see here in the back and throughout the outdoor patio area. And so this is probably very small on your screen. I don't know if I can make this bigger. Let's see. Ooh. So this is the seating area. So like this, for example, is like a planter that would be here. And then there's another planter that would be here that's along Highway 101. And so that's how they're addressing that particular item. And so again, like they're not fully conforming, but they are moving the needle a little bit towards adding some landscaping where none was there before.
Thanks.
I wasn't done, Bob. I'm sorry. Do you mind if I go? Okay. All right. Just had a couple more questions. So I had a question about the drive-through. It's going to be the new outdoor patio is taking up the entire space of the former drive-through.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Is there another area mid-block that allows for pedestrian travel between the 101 and Second? Is there one like maybe over by Sunbum? Because I know that alleyway that, now it's like an alleyway because there's not a drive-through. It's used by a lot of people as it's not really mid-block, but sort of a mid-block cut-through.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
I
just
don't know that
curious.
this project would affect that. So like
No, but
whatever-
it will affect because the drive-through is going to be completely filled in with outdoor dining. There won't be the ability for pedestrians to use it as a mid-block
I see,
cut-through.
I see what you're saying. Okay, let me see if I can go to an image I've got here.
I think there might be one
So
near
I think
Subway.
I would
Not
have
Subway,
to-
near Sunbum.
Yeah, I think I would have to default to, so the map that's here on the screen is showing D Street, South Coast Highway 101, and then the alley. And so you're right, if this drive-through then becomes a patio, there's not necessarily a pedestrian throughway through that anymore, you're correct. But the sidewalk, the pedestrian sidewalk that's here would allow for that, and it's not that far, so does that help?
I mean, no, it does, but I was just curious if you knew offhand if there was another pedestrian cut-through between that alley and the 101, because if there isn't, then it's a very long distance down to Encinitas Boulevard.
No, I think there is one
Is there
at
one by Sunbum?
Sunbum or the
Coffee place?
co-working place,
Okay. I think you might be right.
having just
Okay.
used it.
All right, thank you. And then I had a question about the location of the bike parking area, because I didn't see it on the diagrams, but it's mentioned in the conditions.
I have an image for that too. Give me a moment. Okay, so the bike parking is going to be here. That's where it's existing now.
Oh, can you put it up?
Yes, I can zoom in here.
It's
Ooh,
not,
look.
it's not showing on our screens.
That's what
There,
you were
yeah.
telling me. Okay, so if I were to zoom out a little bit again, here we are. So this is that corner, right? And there's a sign that's here. And this here would be where there's an existing bike rack. And that existing bike rack will remain, and the bicycle spaces that are proposed with this project would be added next to those. So it would be heading north, if you will, on looking on this exam or this image. And so they are not shown here on this particular exhibit because during conversations with our staff team, the exact location wasn't quite decided. There's been some new regulations that have been imposed, specifically AB 43, that we would need to look at to see how that affects where the placement of these bicycle racks are going to go. So that hasn't quite been decided, but it will be decided during construction permits, and they'll get the details nailed down during that time.
Is that on the east side of 101? I couldn't quite tell. That's what it looked like you were pointing to, across the street.
No, it's not across the street. This is right out in front of the sidewalk. Let me see if maybe
Okay.
there's another image that might be more helpful. No, this is not all that helpful. Sorry. But no, it's not across the street. So like if we were to look at this image where it has the addressing number 476, and there's a person walking with their dog, so it's the image on the right top corner. The bicycle racks are just outside of this sidewalk area and actually sit here in the roadway. And so they're sitting there now. We've marked it off with cones, if you will, to kind of keep cars out. And so when Craft Coast comes through, those will actually be removed and then reinstalled according to city and Craft Coast collaboration. Does that help?
It does, thank you. And are those spots employee spots? Are they open to the public? I wasn't quite sure from the report.
They're not exclusive, so they'll be
Okay.
open to the public.
Okay, thank you.
Just a couple. So I think we talked about the liquor license briefly. So this is just beer that they're brewing elsewhere but bringing here to sell?
That's correct.
Okey doke. So no liquor, no wine.
Correct.
What is the structure, the patio structure? How high is that? I'm assuming it's conforming. From a visual standpoint, is that similar to the taco stand that's further down the south? Is that an existing structure I can visually?
Yeah, so I would not have the height of the taco stand. It wasn't part of this scope of work, but I understand your quest. So in this particular image here is a rendering that was provided, and what we can see here is that patio cover that's proposed, and so it's got different heights happening there, but all of which are shorter than the existing roof line. And so it complies in that the existing roof line is below what is allowed for maximum height, and so this is even further below that. So it's conforming.
Okay. I'm assuming, per Commissioner Ryan, that food, since they're asking for a 12 p.m. cutoff, so food will be provided under this license all the way up until, because this is a 23 and not a 41 or a 47, are they required to provide food during service of alcohol?
Yes. So there's a condition of approval that addresses that. It's alcohol condition number 5 that explains that at all times during operation, while alcohol is being served, that food must also be provided. And then just a correction, they're not closing at 12 p.m., they're closing at 12 a.m.
AM. Thank you.
With the patio closing down at 10 p.m.
Got it. And you talked about the noise and that the music outside will stop at 10, and that's separately controlled than the inside, because that came up once before on another project.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Is there a requirement somewhere to technically vacate the alleyway that's now being filled in?
No,
No?
not that I know
Private
of.
property can vacate to Commissioner Ryan's point, the cut-through has been there for a long time, so I don't think that's a prescriptive easement across someone's property. But now that they are going to close, the private property owner is going to close that off, he doesn't have to vacate. There's no condition or easement that he has to vacate?
No.
No? Okay.
I just have one follow-up. So the type 23 does allow for the sale of wine?
No, it does not.
It's beer only?
Correct.
Okay.
So it does allow the purchase of beer to transport off site. So you could buy a keg, for example, and then take it home to your party or whatever.
But it doesn't allow for the sale of wine at the establishment at all, only beer?
It's is it wine? Okay.
That was my understanding from reading the report, and then there was a conversation where it sounded like beer was not allowed, so I was just clarifying.
Sorry, Commissioner Ryan. So I have the text here on the screen, and this one's from ABC, and this one's saying, brew pub, typically a very small brewery with a restaurant where the beer it produces is sold in draft form exclusively at its own premises. The operation often sells other suppliers' bottled beer, including other handcrafted or microbrewed beers, as well as wine to patrons for consumption on its premises. So I stand corrected, it does also allow for wine.
All done? Okay. My last question for you is, it seems like all the colors are to be determined. Brown, gray, like, is that typical to be vague about what those colors are? And are colors part of a design ordinance for the downtown specific planning?
Got it. So I believe the colors that they've explained here are rather in the renderings. They haven't given us paint chips per se, but I would say when they go to construct, that would be detail that would come out. But the rendering that's been provided, they have allowed us to see that there is going to be some changes in the materials, and they have shown us that there's going to be different colors used out there. So this level of detail is acceptable at this point.
I presume you do an inspection or something at the end of construction.
Yes.
So you'll compare it to this where it says brown paint, brown corrugated metal.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. One more.
One more. When we did the board and brew in next to Trader Joe's, there was some heights of walls that were discussed to keep basically, and I think down the street at the other drive-through restaurant for walkthrough. What can you bring back up the rendering that's at the back of the deck that shows the wall?
So this
On the
one
patio?
here,
Yeah.
I think you're going down the path of looking for the height of that railing, maybe? Yes, you are. So this particular image gives us the railing height at the front facing Highway 101. It's very small here, but it's 2 feet 10 inches with another 9 inches for that backing that's there, that little detail. So I'll zoom in, maybe that will help. There we are. So again, 2 feet 10 inches to the bottom of this backing, and so that's the railing portion. And then this 9 inches, and that's that board. It's more of a decorative piece, if you will. But that's kind of the height that you'd be expecting to see out there.
And then that also would then run down I guess, to the west? Is it same height, then run down the west? There was another cross-section, I think.
Yeah, so I think this here is the west, so that's going to be, the west is actually the back elevation that faces the alley. So this is what we'll see from that perspective. And this here is actually the trash enclosure. So that railing there, it's kind of hard to see, but it's this darker gray here on the right, and with like kind of the seating and things in here. I think this is probably a planter wall that we're seeing that's in brown color. And then the trash enclosure here with its little covering. Does that help?
Yes, it does. So 2 feet, is that 2 plus the 9 inches, I guess, on the front? Is that consistent with, I'm assuming it's consistent with
Yes.
code along the PCH side, right? Or the
Yes.
South Coast Highway? And then the railing that runs east-west is also, you're comfortable with the height, that is the correct height to, again, keep the establishment and the people leaving the establishment?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. See, the applicant is here. Would the applicant like to address the commission? You'd have 10 minutes. You don't need to take 10 minutes, but you can take 10 minutes.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Christopher Miller. I'm a local land use and zoning consultant here in Encinitas. I've been assisting the Craft Coast restaurateurs as well as the property owner in the processing of this entitlement application for the design review permit for the CDP and for the minor use permit. We've read the staff report. We've looked at the conditions of approval. We're on board. We're looking for your support and your approval tonight. I would also like to quickly thank Christina for her time in kind of shepherding us and getting us pretty close to the finish line here. Thank you, Anna, for meeting with us early in the process. That was very helpful, getting your expertise as well. So the Craft Coast guys, super excited about bringing their product and their experience here to Encinitas. Some of them have grown up around here. They have some other restaurants in nearby locations that have been very successful. So they're very excited to locate here in Encinitas. And so I'm going to turn it over to one of the Craft Coast owners right now. They can tell you a little bit more about their project. He'll have a quick deck that he can go through. If you do have some questions about that 23 license, they should be able to give you a little more detail on that. They're more of an expert in that than I am. And then Bob, real quick, on that railing going east-west, that gelato wall of that building is right there. It's almost like a zero lot line. So you're gonna have, it's a huge solid barrier that's along that area. You're welcome. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your time tonight. My name's Blake Masoner, co-founder, head brewer, a little bit of everything for Craft Coast. I'm representing myself, my two co-founders, Brian Gillen, Lars Eriksson, on this project. We're super excited about the opportunity to bring our business to Encinitas. This is a place where we've grown up, we've lived here, we've dined here, we've hung out here for years and years, and to finally get the opportunity to work with you guys, as well as Adam Robinson, has been a dream come true, to say the least. Here's our project, Filiberto's. We've eaten there for years and years. We've been a part of the community. We're excited to be the ones to be able to take it over and to bring new life to the corner and new life to this area that we used to love and enjoy so much. You guys have had a lot of questions about the project. We have a very successful location in downtown Oceanside, located directly below residential buildings. We've been consistent with Oceanside's noise ordinances, ABC barricades and everything, while being part of a mixed-use development, which is a quality that we want to bring to this site in Encinitas. We've worked effortlessly with our design team to put together a really nice package of interior and exterior to make a good flow for customers and safety of pedestrians and the alleyway behind us. We're really excited about the design, bringing new life, opening up the building, building a big patio and something that was possibly considered a hazard to pedestrians coming off of Coast Highway. This is its current state. Like I said, we've been there hundreds of times, early mornings, late nights. We're ready to breathe new life into an old space and really bring it together, something that the community can get behind, as they've done in Oceanside and as we've done more recently in San Marcos. We're really excited to bring outdoor space to Encinitas, as from our experience, there hasn't been a ton of it. Due to COVID, more has opened up, and now we're actually able to integrate a natural outdoor space into something that's a fully integrated unit. This rendering here gets us really excited about the opportunity here, as we could add our succulent cactus outdoor design elements into a building that, in our opinion, could really use new life. Our logo is a cactus with the sun and the waves. We bring all of those elements to that in our architecture. Our planter boxes are all hand curated by our team on staff with different succulents, cactus, native plants. It's been a big hit in Oceanside, and it really brings people off the street as they're interested in what we're doing. So yeah, we're just really excited to take 3 guys that have lived here. We grew up here, and we finally have the opportunity to bring our business to Encinitas, and we're grateful for the opportunity, really. So, yeah, happy to answer any questions about anything into further detail that you might need from a beer expertise standpoint.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any questions of the applicant? Okay.
I just have a question, a little follow-up on the type 23, because you're applying for the type, you want to apply to ABC for the type 23. And I'm just curious why that choice versus the 41 if you're not intending to brew beer at the site.
Yeah, so with each type 23 license, which we hold as beer manufacturers, we have 2 manufacturing sites, one in Oceanside and one in San Marcos. We're allowed a certain number of duplicate licenses. With the duplicates, we get brew pub designations, which Christina put on the board. A brew pub is a bona fide eatery with on-site beer, wine, and guest beer privileges. Our ABC type allows us to extend those licenses to a certain number of sites. It just keeps things consistent with our business and our ABC working. Rather than applying for a brand new license, all we have to do is take what's existing and duplicate it into a new address with the same allowances that are already been approved by the ABC at our root source.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense.
Okay, I have a question about the design of the building, and I'll ask you, and if there's someone else that you need to ask,
Sure.
I don't know. The canopy over the outdoor dining space seems to be drawn dead flat, but I think there'll be some sort of slope so that rainwater will come off of it. Which direction do you intend to slope that surface?
It's not a solid enclosed roof.
Okay.
It's corrugated, should have-
Just for the
Could we speak
record,
to the
would you
microphone?
talk into the microphone?
Yeah, I'll turn that over to our design team on all of those related issues. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Relitza Kambakis. I'm an architect working on this project. So currently, as it's drawn, it's a corrugated roof, it's open cell, right? So we're not enclosing anything. So there's not going to be an actual built-up roof, but we will be shedding it to the outside edge. The reason being is we can't shed it to the street. If we shed it to the alleyway, the slope fall will be too far, and it will eventually be extremely tall at the front side, right? We can't slope it towards the building. There's people walking in and out. That's not going to be favorable. So right now, there's existing bollards that are separating the other building, so it'll fall pretty much right where the bollards are.
Do you anticipate putting a gutter along that, or is that just going to let
No,
shed off?
it'll shed off.
Okay. What kind of success have you had painting an existing roof a new color? Does that color going to
happens all the
stick and
time.
it's going to?
Yeah, so basically when you paint a new roof that's like a standing seam metal, they come through and they have to sandblast it a little bit, or they grind it down so that the actual pores will be open. So when you paint it, it has something to latch onto.
Okay. Those are my questions. I think there was no other questions, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.
No
other
speakers.
comments? Okay, I will close the public comment portion of this and open it up to commissioner deliberation.
So I do have one more disclosure now that they mentioned they have a restaurant in Oceanside. I have eaten at their restaurant in Oceanside.
Get out.
So,
Okay, thank you.
No,
You want to start?
I think it's a nice upgrade to what's there now. Clearly, they've had some success elsewhere, and hopefully they can bring that success to Encinitas. It seems to be consistent with other facilities and other restaurants downtown. And, there's the Modern Times next door, and there's some other similar opportunities. The culture is down the street, so it seems to be consistent with the neighborhood. I always kind of thought a little bit about time and noise, but it sounds like they're going to close the outside at 10, and that should be consistent with the neighborhood. I was always concerned because the neighborhood's not that far away as you get over to 2nd Street. But it appears that they've taken that into consideration.
Good. Susan, any comments?
Well, I think I concur with Commissioner Prendergast that the design definitely improves what was there. I'm not sure if anyone else is aware, but there was a recent recommendation to put a Surgeon General warning that alcohol causes cancer. And when I heard that, it's not official yet, but it's being considered. And I thought about how many projects we have approved that serve alcohol. This one seems more benign than most because a 23 license is more limited in scope. But I do kind of wonder about the total amount of alcohol being served everywhere that we're approving. And then now we have no parking. And so I hope they use Uber or Lyft maybe or something to come and go. But that was the main concern actually that was on my mind. I know when the Surgeon General warning came out on the packs of cigarettes, it was 1969. My dad quit instantly. That was it. That's all it took. That warning, he said, I'm out. So it just definitely played on my mind.
I saw the same report, but I think that's a little above our pay grade to determine that at this point. Chris, did you have any initial thoughts?
no, I agree that it's an improvement to the corner, and I would support it. And I'll make a motion.
If
You
I
ready?
could just, I share your thoughts as well. I think it fits the neighborhood. It's an appropriate use. I'm not concerned about any of the issues. Two small design items to me is the gate from the patio swinging outward and over the sidewalk, and then the front door, the pivot door to the reception area also swinging out and over the sidewalk. And I don't think that's allowed by code, so maybe it would get caught anyway. But if it's not, if it is allowed, I don't think I would want to allow it so that a pedestrian walking along gets bonked by a door. So I support the project, and I would, if we made a motion, if there was a condition that the doors swing in if they're allowed, but if it's an egress thing, that they would have to set the doors back.
Right, I thought, well, staff will know the code, but I thought you had to exit with the door out.
Some occupant, this would probably exceed those occupancies. You're correct.
I think they would have to recess that so that the door can swing out. You have to go in the direction of egress with your door swing on a commercial area.
So I would entertain a motion if someone wanted to maybe include that.
One more, I'm sorry, go ahead, Anna, sorry.
Just a clarifying question. If the code does allow it, do you still want that condition? Because I would like staff to just take a minute to look at that. I thought that the downtown Encinitas specific plan said something about it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But
I think it would be bad planning or bad pedestrian experience if you were walking along and the door opened up and you walked into it. So I guess I would go beyond if it's a strictly code issue. I do think it may be a code issue too, but even if it's not, I would be concerned about the swing of the door.
I think we brought the swinging door up on
The one down next
the
to
one down on the corner, if I recall, that was an issue. I'm not sure how, I don't recall how we resolved it, but that did pop up and you did catch that. You also brought the water runoff, so I'm assuming that the property owner who's moving the lot line and understands that the water is going to come off at the base of his, and the designer just told us that there was a gap there. So I'm not going to, but I thought it was a good point, because there's going to, one day it will rain again, and at some point water will shed.
Yeah, I would not want to see that shedding over onto the sidewalk. It sounds like
Correct.
It's not going to.
Yeah.
It's
the only place for it to go.
That would be my thought process there too.
So well, other than the door, I support
Okay.
the idea.
Now, is staff looking at something regarding the door right now, or no?
I think the item that you're thinking about was the GP Diner that was just south of this, and it was on Highway 101. And so I was trying to look at that presentation right now to see if I could give you more information on that topic.
I think it's maybe a lost effort. I would support the project if the doors did not swing over the sidewalk, regardless of what the code, the building code says about it. I think our pedestrian urban plan should not allow that. Okay. I'll open this up if the applicant would like to provide a response.
Yeah, Chris Miller, zoning consultant. Our preference, if it's possible, is not to have that specific condition attached to the resolution. What we will obviously do when we submit for building permit plan check, our architectural team will work with either Ali or Joe, who's the building official here in Encinitas. When we're in plan check, we'll figure that out if that's possible. I'm not familiar enough with the UBC in terms of door swings and whatnot, but if we can avoid a specific condition, that would be our preference. Thank you.
Okay. In light of that, I'll still reiterate, my issue is from a pedestrian experience along the sidewalk. Whether it's a building code official item or not, I think that is maybe a poor plan for our sidewalks to have doors swinging out over them.
I would concur. I mean, what if someone's coming along with a baby stroller and the door goes,
Just because I haven't closed the public comment, you have one more comment?
I mean, I think we all know this, but, for 50 years, that was a double-lane drive-through, so it was a precarious situation where you would have cars coming out over the sidewalk, through the driveway apron, over the bike lane. So a really odd situation that's going to get extremely improved. Owners putting in a curb, we're putting in 2 on-street parking spots. So that whole pedestrian bicycle experience is going to be much safer than it historically has been.
To be clear, the front door is a new door, right? There's no opening there currently where you go in the pivot door.
It looks like it's not in the exact same place as the existing
It's not
door.
exactly the same.
Yeah, I didn't think I saw a window or a door over there at all, but thank you. All right, so I am going to close the public comment again. Does any of that discussion alter the way anybody looks at this project? And can I?
You know what? In the big scheme of things, I'll tend to support your motion for the resolution, or to amend the resolution to on the door swing. I think it's a small thing. Yes, we're going to see improvements, the locations, and I guess it's subject to a code. If we're allowed to impose some design review, and that's what that is, then it's a slight setback, and they could do double, saloon. I mean, I love the cactus. That's all great, and I still think they can make it work where there's less. A slight adjustment is not a big deal, and I do think that you bring up a good point.
I'll make a motion. You guys can choose to support it or not. I'll move to approve the project with the condition that the 2 exterior doors do not swing over the property line and into the public right-of-way.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Okay, I'll call the vote. Okay, so Susan, or wait, who's abstained?
So that's technically an absent.
Oh, that's
Whitaker would be.
Brent?
So Whitaker is not here. It was a 3-1. Who abstained? Was it?
Or who hasn't voted?
I put Whitaker as abstain,
I
but
don't
would
think
he would be
But-
recused.
I don't think Susan has
He would
voted.
be recused,
Recused.
correct. But I don't know if we had all 4 commissioners voting.
Did that register?
Yours did not
register.
register.
didn't pick it up.
No.
So,
And was yours,
touch.
Could we take
sure, did you vote to approve?
I vote to approve.
Okay, so then it's a 4-0 to approve.
think I touched the screen.
Instead of using this.
That's fine. So it's a 4-0 to approve with Commissioner Whitaker recused.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Okay, we are moving on to item 9, future agenda items added by the planning commissioners. Are there any future agenda items?
Yes, I think we discussed it earlier. I think I'd like to move the discussion on the work plan to the next. Is this technically where we would say that?
Well, I
here?
think we've already done that.
Okay, I wasn't sure if there was some
Yeah.
sort of protocol to do that.
No, I would say if you have anything new.
No,
or
no.
Another report. You
No,
want.
no other report, no.
You've been busy down there. Okay. Item 10 is Planning Commission reports. We had one that we removed from that. Are there any other reports?
Well, we met and worked on our report, which I guess we'll be giving,
We'll hear that next
In
time.
February?
Yep.
and I think we'll maybe adjust it a bit. That's okay to do? Yeah, okay. Because we did hear some public comment, and we will adjust it a little.
Okay, thank you.
Is it my turn? Okay. So I'll let you know when I need those changes by, so that we can get it posted correctly. So the other reports that I have are that the Camino Apartments appeal was heard yesterday evening, and they had only 3 council members at that hearing, and they were unable to vote on it. The vote was 2-1. Yeah, sorry. I'll just restate that very quickly, just because we have Commissioner Whitaker that just walked in. I was just stating that the Camino appeal was heard by City Council yesterday evening, and they were unable to have a vote. It was 2-1, and therefore that means that the Planning Commission determination stands. So that project is still approved. And then the other just reminder was that the mature tree ordinance is going to be heard at City Council on January 22nd. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Welcome back, Brent. And with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.